Gotta love the little Freudian slip saying 92 through the fan instead of Sons of the Shoe. You can follow this podcast and find this podcast at the 92 through the fan YouTube channel. I'm so used to hosting, I guess, of late that I snuck the station ID in there rather than mentioning that this is not 92 through the fan. This is Sons of the Shoe. But we appreciate you guys jumping on in with us and just talking Ohio State. As again, it's an exciting time of year when we start to see practice video and the quarterbacks dropping back and doing some things. And it's all very, very exciting as we get closer and closer to the spring game. And then we start talking about the summer and what the outlook of next season is going to look like. So looking forward to doing all that with you in the coming months. With Nick Wilson by my side, I am riding solo. Spencer German here for this episode, this latest episode of the podcast. And we are a new podcast again, so be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and comment wherever you get your podcasts. We'll continue to remind you to do that all throughout the show. I have some audio I want to play for you here because Chip Kelly had some interesting commentary this week in regards to joining Ohio State, why he joined Ohio State, why he joined the Ohio State coaching staff, and just kind of what the offense is going to kind of look like moving forward. And I found one sort of interesting thing. There's a couple things he said that were pretty interesting, and we can talk more about those. But one of the things they said I thought was very fascinating was just about, it being a collaborative effort to build this offense. And that's something, if there's any of our Browns fans who listen to 92 through the fan listening to the podcast here, you guys hear that word all the time from Kevin Stefanski as he's talking about this offseason, new offensive coordinator in the building. Well, it's going to be a collaborative effort building the offense. So I found that sort of nugget interesting. But there was another thing that fascinated me, and just in regards to who's kind of calling the shots here and how it might have been different had the first offensive coordinator they hired actually been the guy that stuck. Listen to this. We'll react to it on the other side.
Can't wait to get on the field with them and actually start to practice football, and that's the best part about it because these kids are hungry. They want it every day, and they can't wait. They're you can tell there's a feeling they're chomping at the bit just to get back out and play football. So it's great when you get to coach kids like that, and this is going to be a huge collaborative effort. I think everybody has great thoughts and processes of how they do things. Just spending time so far I had offensively with Brian Hartline and with Tony and Keenan Bailey and the rest of the guys in the offensive staff. There's a lot of really, really smart people in that room, and that's an advantage to us. And it's going to be a total collaborative effort. It's not my offense, not Ryan's offense, it's not Hart's offense, it's not Justin's. It's Ohio State's offense. And we'll put all those minds together. Hopefully we'll come up with a pretty good game plan. Can't wait to get on the field with them and actually start.
He called it Ohio State's offense. And that audio, it was really a video, but audio courtesy of Adam King, who works for News 10 in Columbus. So appreciate the audio there. But he called it Ohio State's offense, not his offense, not Ryan Day's offense, not Brian Hartline's offense. One thing that struck me, though, as I mentioned Brian Hartline, is the fact that he alluded to, putting his head together with Brian Hartline. Now he's in those meetings. They're all kind of working together, and it truly is like a team thing. It's not just one person coming out and saying, here's what we're going to do, when we're going to do it. Here's what the playbook's going to look like. It does sound like it is kind of a joint effort there. And I think that's good. But I also just wanted to bring that up because I know one of the biggest fears about Ryan Day handing over play calling duties and sort of conceding to another offensive play caller was plenty of Buckeyes fans who were like, what does this mean for Brian Hartline? Is it going to scare him away? Is he going to want out now because he's not getting sort of the torch isn't being passed to him? And I just don't buy that that's really on his radar. I've said it before. I'm imagining he's been part of this process the whole time of hiring a new OC. I would imagine just hearing Brian Hartline speak about the opportunities he's had, that he actually embraces and loves the idea of working alongside an offensive mind like Chip Kelly, who is going to be able to hopefully kind of mold him into a future elite play caller in the college ranks. I think any coach who is working alongside a guy like that is going to just try to be a sponge and absorb as much as they can. I don't think it's wrong of Ryan Day to feel like Brian Hartline just isn't ready for that responsibility yet. But you get somebody in here, whether it would have been Bill O'Brien or whether it would have been Chip Kelly like they ended up with, who has done it before, has the experience, and can sort of pass that off to him, that's how you get a guy ready for that role sooner and effectively. So I think that's an important note to I think pay attention to from that clip. But the other thing that strikes me is just the fact that he said it's Ohio State's offense and it's a collaborative effort, which means I would imagine he didn't say Ryan Day by name, but I'm imagining Ryan Day gets some saying things and he's part of that too. There's no way this guy's going straight up from I used to run this offense, organize this offense. This was my baby to I'm not going to have any say in anything that goes on in the offensive game plan on a week-to-week basis. So I'm imagining he's part of this conversation as well. And in some of these meetings or all the meetings, I don't know. I'm not in the building with him, but I'm imagining that is part of what's happening. That's fine if they want to be a collaborative effort. I think at times we've all had questions about Ryan Day's offense and what it's going to look like. And if it's really as amazing as it was kind of painted out to be when Justin Fields was running it, and if he's really the offensive mind that everybody says he is or that he thinks he is. And I do think I think Ryan Day is a fine play caller. I think sometimes he lives in his fears too much. And that's kind of the big point I want to make here. If it's a collaborative effort, great. I'm all for putting your heads together, figuring out what's going to make the most sense for the players that you have, the skill sets you have. And also because Ryan Day and Chip Kelly have history together, both in the NFL and in the college ranks, because he worked for him on the Eagles staff, and then I think in New Hampshire as well. Because they have familiarity with each other, I do think that's a good thing because they can't, like, his scheme is based in what Chip Kelly does. So I don't think you're going to get like stuff that's just drastically different. You're just going to get now the mastermind behind it all, mostly running the show, I would imagine. But the one thing I want to know is who is going to be calling the shots when you're facing 4th and 2 from the Michigan 47 and you're down 7 in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes to go. Who's making that call? Because I'm imagining it's Ryan Day. Most head coaches make decisions like that. And I just want to know, like, who, but more specifically, like, who's calling that specific play? Who's calling the play that you're going to run? Because, like I said, to this point, Ryan Day in those spots, and he did it this past year against Michigan, and we all ripped him up and down for it. Nick and I ripped him on this podcast. He lives in his fears. He puckers up in key moments. He promised he wasn't going to do it after the year before with the whole fake punt thing that went awry, which actually would have worked, and we probably would have been applauding him for it. But he promised he wasn't going to do it again, and then he did it again in a key situation in that game this year where they lose to Michigan for the 3rd straight year. And people were sitting there wondering, well, if he had gone for this, would it have changed the outcome? Would they have scored a touchdown? Would they have done this? Would they have done that? So I don't know that that's maybe the biggest area I still don't trust Ryan Day. And so I'm hoping that Chip Kelly, not that he gets full say, but I just hope that I'm fine with Ryan Day being the decision maker. He needs to learn from his mistakes and start to be more gutsy and make those decisions and go for it and not shy away from because you're worried about what's going to happen on the other side or on the other side of the play where maybe Michigan could score. Like, no, you got to be aggressive sometimes and take what's yours. And so I'm hoping he's learned from that now that he sort of botched another key situation against Michigan this past year where he's not going to be as timid in those moments. If that's true, fine. But I want to know who's drawing up the play too. There's like I said, there's videos going around of quarterbacks doing work with centers and spring practice kind of opening up. And there was a video clip, and I saw a bunch of the comments were just, we're running QB sneaks this year because there was a whole bunch of guys just Will Howard. I think that Aaron Nolan did one where like they're just taking the handoff and they're running QB sneaks. If they're running QB sneaks, great. That's an easy way. As we know, we see with in Philly with the brotherly shove, although you're losing Jason Kelsey there. So maybe it's not going to be quite as effective next year. We'll see. But yeah, like I want to know who in those moments is going to the whiteboard. I say that sarcastically. I know that's not the way teams draw plays anymore, but who's going to the whiteboard and actually drawing at the play? Is it Ryan Day or is it Chip Kelly? I'm imagining it's Chip Kelly with Ryan Day being sort of the final judge, jury, and executioner signing off on what the play call is. And I'm imagining it's Ryan Day sort of making the decision, okay, we are or we aren't going to go for it in this specific spot. But I just hope it's Chip Kelly who's drawing up the plays, because those moments and certain situations throughout games have left a lot to be desired from Ryan Day. I mean, I think back to the Notre Dame game, all those times in the red zone where they had a chance to score a touchdown, could have won that game multiple times over with a touchdown, or a score that would have left them with a larger lead than they ended up with, and maybe a larger deficit that they ended up with in terms of how they ended up winning that game. Like, all that stuff matters, and Ryan Day has been uninspiring in certain spots. So I just hope it's Ryan Day sort of as the czar over it all, and Chip Kelly is trusted to come here and do his job effectively. And in those moments where you need a play to convert a fourth down, that's a key moment in the game. I hope it's Chip Kelly who picks out the play call and knows the one that's going to work, rather than Ryan Day. And that ultimately will reflect positively on Ryan Day, because it's him enabling his guys to make the right calls and do their jobs. And again, I want to be clear. I think because it's somebody he's familiar with, that actually helps the cause. It actually raises an interesting question. How would that have looked with Bill O'Brien versus Chip Kelly? Because I'm imagining they would have tried to be collaborative as well with Bill O'Brien. But Bill O'Brien strikes me as the kind of person, and I don't mean this in a negative way, who, like, he feels that he knows offense. Okay, he's been doing this thing for a long damn time. He's worked with Tom Brady. He's worked with Deshaun Watson in the NFL. He did it at Penn State. He's bounced around. He did it at Bama with Nick Saban. Like, he strikes me as a guy who, not that it's his way or the highway, especially when he was coming into a situation where he's not the head coach, but just that he feels so confidently that he knows offense that I don't know that he'd be as, like, I think it would have been a little bit more of a power struggle between those two, where Bill O'Brien wanted to do something a certain way, and maybe Ryan Day would have pushed back a little bit. In this instance, and this is why I like this pairing a lot better, and why I sort of, we did the episode talking about whether or not it was actually an upgrade getting Chip Kelly, because I do think that the familiarity that's there, the fact that his system is based off of Chip Kelly's scheme, and because they've worked together before, and that's where he kind of got his start, was under Chip Kelly. I think all that is why I feel really good about this thing. As Chip Kelly uses the word collaborative, is going to be very kumbaya and in sync, and those guys just kind of holding hands, skipping through the wildflowers together, because I think it's going to function very, very well. And there's going to be a trust there. There's not this sort of learning curve to get to know each other. They know each other, and it should thrive effectively. At least that's my feeling. That's my read on it. I could be completely wrong, and it could blow up in everybody's faces. But because of that, I value that so much in how this relationship is going to work, that I think there'll be some trust in those key moments. But that's the question I want to know. Who's calling the play? Who's drawing up the play on the whiteboard in those key moments on fourth down in a game where you're trying to put away Michigan, or, come back and beat Michigan because you're down 3 and you need a touchdown with 4 minutes to go? That's what I want to know. I'm hoping it's Chip Kelly. Ryan Day just kind of overseeing it all and giving the final stamp of approval. But I guess it's one of those things that we'll go into the season having questions about. We'll see how it all shakes out on game days in the fall, which still seem very far away, but it'll be here before we know it, and we're certainly excited about that. Let's take one last break. When we get back, if you're a Michigan fan who's been waiting to troll me this entire episode, your chance is coming, because I'm asking the question of whether or not J.J. McCarthy, the national championship quarterback who was just with Michigan and is entering the NFL as a prospect, was just at the combine last week doing all the workouts and things, is J.J. McCarthy worthy of a first-round pick in next month's NFL draft? We'll give you the Michigan Panic Meter and update and answer that question next on Sons of the Shoe. But here is a quick word from our sponsors.